Now, the National Communications Authority says it has begun enforcement of a directive that will require the certification of all electronic communication equipment before being sold in Ghana. The authority says this is to ensure quality service delivery and consumer safety. Joining us is Boakye has more in this report.
The National Communications Authority (NCA) Act 769 of 2009 mandates the authority to certify and ensure that communication equipment meets international standards regarding technical, environmental, health, and safety. Such equipment includes mobile phones, Wi-Fi, keyless entry cards, televisions, routers, and transmitters, among others. According to the NCA, such equipment, if not approved, may pose quality service delivery and health risks. Speaking at a workshop to sensitize stakeholders on its importance, the Senior Manager of Regulatory Administration Division at the NCA, Isaac Boateng, says every electronic communication device imported must be type approved to ensure it meets international standards.
There are international standards that devices and network have to meet. And if the network operator could do the design, dimension, everything to meet that standard, and the devices that are connected to the network are not meeting, it poses, for example, quality of service delivery challenge, it poses health and safety issue challenges, and that is what we are seeking to address as a regulator. The law is that every communication equipment that comes to the country has to be inspected by the authority to actually ascertain that yes, you have the right to bring. But of course, we have unapproved routes. So some of these devices that you see in the country, mostly they don't come through the approved channel. They come through on the unapproved route, which is a little bit challenge for everybody, not only the regulator.
He urged the public to check with the authority for the standard of equipment they purchase.
If you want to buy or if you want to buy something to be connected, a device especially to be connected to a network, find out from the authority's website, check from the authority whether that device has been approved before you go ahead and use it, because some of them do pose a lot of quality challenges. As a country, we don't manufacture that much. We do receive some of these manufactured devices. If it has been accepted internationally, we have to look at the consequences with respect to your local environment.
The NCA says it is important to report any unregistered and unapproved communications equipment to help bring sanity into the country's communication industry.
Now, unemployed graduates, especially women, are to breathe a sigh of relief following the introduction of Jobs for Women Ghana Summit, which has been championed by the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations in partnership with Necotech Centre of Excellence. The initiative, which seeks to bring job opportunities to the doorsteps of Ghanaians, especially women, will provide a platform to train and support young women for the job market.
The gap between the skills acquired by graduates in school and how best to package those skills to the job market, this, they say, is a major concern for companies because they could not get the appropriate candidates for employment. The Job for Women Summit is geared at addressing this challenge by providing training in the soft skills needed by women for employment.
About the importance of us working, and not just working anyhow, but working very well. According to the traits that we're doing a survey with several companies to give us what they call the traits of the ideal worker, the ideal talent in the nation. Now, once we have decided, we've taken that into consideration, we're going to use those traits that they are looking for to train our women. So we're asking for women from all over the nation to come. We're going to train them, and then we put them before employers. We are working with all the districts for every woman everywhere to get on board, and we are setting up job centers. Today we are looking at launching the One District, One Job Center opportunity. We're going to be working with the Ministry for Local Government to set up these job centers in every district in the country.
But why should women be given preferential treatment in the search for jobs? Some participants at the summit have been sharing their views.
In my company, for instance, the highest commission earners or the top are all women. And if they are made aware that there are jobs out there which are not for men, because when we talk about insurance sales, for instance, it's not about just being in Accra. You have to travel out there all throughout Ghana. You have to be going to villages. Some even sit on boats to cross rivers. But if the awareness is not there, that there are certain jobs that every woman can also embark upon, then there is this challenge of we women seeing ourselves are not being even having the opportunity to gain employment and all that. But where the exposure, the awareness is there, they are able to get the desired jobs. And
not as if we have the space. The space might be there, but if you are not being given the opportunity, you cannot bring out the skills that are within you. So we need that one. That is why we are coming up with this forum. And as we said, it is not exclusively for women alone. We'll go hand in hand with the men, but we want to project the women and also give the women more space.
The Jobs for Women virtual platforms, which will provide two banks, a national job bank, which would allow employers with vacancies to reach out to prospective candidates who have been vetted and trained by SOS Labour Ghana Limited and its partners. Employers would have access to the skills bank where they could pick candidates and also interview them virtually if preferred.
The National Petroleum Authority says it is in the process of verifying quantities of a consignment of contaminated fuel released by the bulk oil storage and transport company to another company, Moving Pina, to ensure that none of the fuel has found its way onto the open market. It follows claims by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers that it has received reports of motorists who say they believe some of the contaminated fuel has been sold to them at some filling stations, causing defects to their vehicle engines. Though the MPA says it doubts the claim, it says the ongoing checks are necessary to ascertain the veracity of the claims. Checks have become especially important following some contradictions in the information put out by BOST, which says it released the product, and Zoop Oil, which took delivery of the contaminated fuel. Now, in a related development, the Energy Ministry is to set up an 8-member committee to probe circumstances and which 5 million litres of fuel belonging to the bulk oil and storage transport company BOST was contaminated. The ministry, in a statement Wednesday, said the committee's mandate includes, but not limited to, determining the circumstances that created the off-spec product. 2, reviewing the procedures undertaken by BOST to evacuate the product. 3, ascertaining the quality and remaining quantity of the product. 4, determining if the product can be corrected, and if not, determine the alternative use for the product. And 5, reviewing the transaction. Now, the committee, the statement says, will be made up of representatives of the National Petroleum Authority, the Tema Oil Refinery, Ghana Standards Authority, Bureau of National Investigations, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Association of Oil Marketing Companies, the Energy Commission, and a representative from the relevant civil society organizations. The committee is expected to advise the Ministry of Energy on the necessary technical, administrative, and legal actions to be taken. We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime. We have more coming up. Stay tuned. Now, Chairman of the Hajj Board, Sheikh Kwe, says the previous board has left behind debt up to the tune of about 30 million Ghana cedis, something his administration is working so hard to fix in order to guarantee a smooth Hajj in August. The former Member of Parliament for Boakye Central blames the board's indebtedness on the majority of pilgrims who embark on the spiritual journey through a protocol list without paying for it. Sheikh Kwe was speaking at the Hajj village here in Accra.
Chairman of the Hajj Board, Sheikh Kwe, noted conditions at the Hajj village as he inherited was in itself an indictment on the previous administrators and by extension the religion of Islam. On the 30 million Ghana cedi debt left behind by the previous board, the former MP for Boakye Central says his outfit is demanding full refund from his predecessor.
We've done some investigation and it's come to light. The handing over note that they presented to us revealed that they are in debt to the tune of over $30 million. According to themselves, it's not our saying, it's not our making, it's not the research that we have conducted and we are coming out with this sort of thing. They are owing the airline $2.8 million. How that came about, they know. But the point is this, that we have come to face this sort of thing. And if we don't break through, to satisfy the service providers, then of course that can't be Hajj.
He also outlined plans the board has in place to ensure hitch-free Hajj.
Inshallah, we are doing the best we can. We must ensure that we don't carry illicit items like cocaine, even cola.
With some pilgrims having the tendency of smuggling illicit products to the Holy Land, Sheikh Isikwe warned prospective pilgrims not to attempt the illegal drug trade.
Well, we are going to scrutinize them from here, and then actually, because it's one of the conditions that never carry cola.
The scrutiny was done last year, but some of them got to elude authorities here.
Well, we are going to do as much as we can, actually, to scrutinize. But meanwhile, we are going to actually educate them. Because when you carry illicit items like cocaine or what have you, and you are caught, well, the law of Saudi Arabia will deal with you.
The first of 13 airlines is expected to fly prospective pilgrims from the Tamale and the Kotoka International Airports to Mecca on August 10.
Challenging Heights, a non-governmental organization aimed at protecting the rights of children, says Ghana risks losing over $600 million in aid and other benefits from the American government if it fails to address the issue of human trafficking. They say despite the fact that Ghana has maintained, against all odds, a Tier 2 watch list standing on the Trafficking in Persons tip ranking, government does not fully comply with the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking and is not making any significant efforts to do so. President of the NGO, James Kofi Annan, says government would have to invest a minimum of 20 million Ghana cedis every year if it seeks to eliminate child trafficking.
All the systems and structures put in place to fight against human trafficking have failed to deliver on their mandates. The Human Trafficking Secretariat has been starved of resources for several years. The Human Trafficking Fund has not been resourced for several years also, making the Human Trafficking Board a mere workshop group. The Child Labour Unit of the Ministry of Employment is merely engaged in a turf war with the Human Trafficking Secretariat of the Ministry of Gender. Challenging Heights is therefore calling on the government to merge the two units, that's the Human Trafficking Secretariat and the Child Labour Unit of the Ministry of Employment, and establish what we call Ghana Human Trafficking Commission, GHTC, chaired by the President himself, that's the President of Ghana, with the same status as the Ghana AIDS Commission.
The president of the Christian Service University College in Kumasi is calling for a refocusing of the National Service Scheme for National Development. Professor Samuel Afrani observes the scheme is deviated from its original mandate of building the capacity of personnel for the job market. Prince Apia has more in this report.
Professor Samuel Afrani wants the National Service Scheme to strive to set up a public fund and wean itself of state funding. Professor Afrani was speaking at a sensitization program by the National Service Personnel Association in Kumasi.
The government is spending millions paying national service people. I'm sure we all know millions of cedis, and even sometimes get into the wrong hands. And therefore, the government cannot fund all these things. So I believe the National Service Scheme must create a public fund. One, some of their own projects, they do agricultural projects, they do water projects and other things. Some of their own projects, some profit can enter that fund. They can also appeal to companies and institutions who are working with them And therefore, I believe if the fund is established, they will be able to mobilize a lot of financial resources to train and equip and empower the young ones to be able to do this job.
Professor Franny wants the scheme to focus on grooming service personnel, either to start their own businesses or be employable. The theme for the program was national service, the link between tertiary education and the job market.
And the intention of the scheme is to give them an exposure to the job market, give them some experiences, let them know what the job market is all about, and then they transition into really finding a job. But over the years, the job market, the national service has not been very successful in doing this. Many of the personnel finish the national service and they go back as what? Unemployed. If you look at their objectives, one of them is that they will transition them into the job market. But I can say that their vehicle is unable to do a proper transitioning. Many of them end up staying at home, not getting a job. That's why the national service must reform itself, so that once they keep students for 12 months, they would go properly empowered to be able to enter the job market, either finding a job or they themselves creating one.
Stephen Andras is Kumasi Metro President of the National Service Personnel Association.
I believe that the exercise of one man is in the bucket of another. I don't know where I'll meet somebody who helped me to become great in future. So the main reason why we are organizing this program is that, after service, after national service, job opportunity have become a problem in Ghana. We have about 70,000 national service personnel. Already they have some of them in the system. So after service, where do you go? You have no place to go. But with this PM program, Project Management and Entrepreneurship Program, it's going to help service personnel to become creators of jobs. At the end of the day, you can set up something small. They'll be generating money into their pocket. They can also employ people. They'll be paying them. That's the main reason why we are doing this for national service personnel, so that we can reduce the number of unemployment in the system.
Prince Apia, reporting.
The Asokore Mampo Municipal Assembly has placed a temporary ban on all outdoor sala activities after a shooting incident at one such event on Tuesday night. The decision was taken at an emergency meeting of the Municipal Security Committee Wednesday morning. Municipal Chief Executive Alidi Seidu confirmed the ban to Joy News. Kwesi Debra reports.
Police officer around, no single police officer. So when the police came, I had to approach them. And I told them, there's been some gunshots over here. And they told me they are not aware of anything. They are not aware of any gunshot. They were on patrol. So they just saw people around, so they decided to come around. I'm like, okay, then let me brief you. So I was the one who briefed the police.
That is an eyewitness, Hakim. A teenager, Osman Yusuf, was shot by unknown assailants at a fuel station between Menchia and Dichemso Tuesday night. He was initially rushed to the Menchia Government Hospital, but later referred to the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, where he is said to be receiving treatment. Doctors have scheduled him for CT scan and test to ascertain the extent of injury. Earlier reports have suggested he has passed on, but this has been discounted.
That we are here to do something called the CT scan to see the extent of damage in where he was injured. So that will inform them what to do next. But as I'm speaking with you, he's alive and he has responded to treatment. There are precedents in programs like this that at any point in time when Eid al-Fitr is being celebrated, it ends up with something like this. Like I said earlier on, you should always expect the unexpected. So once it had happened once, this one is the next one twice. We wouldn't just allow it to happen again. So what we intend doing is that from here we go back to the assembly and continue with the MUSEC meeting. The proposal, like I told you earlier on, that the proposal is that we put a temporary ban to all celebrations in connection with the Eid al-Fitr for this year. Then afterwards, we take a decision to bring finality to this issue. And police is also there. The police has responded so quick. As I'm speaking with you, the investigation is ongoing, and I can even tell you.
Meanwhile, victim's father, Swala Yusuf, is calling on the police to take swift action to bring perpetrators to book. His sister came to tell me he's been attacked and shot by unknown assailants. I have seen him and he is well, so he was rushed to the hospital. I have seen him and he is well. They should bar people from trooping to the place. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
Now, illegal miners whose boats were being destroyed by a task force from the Upper Dentra West and East Assemblies on Wednesday held insults and curses on members of the team at Subing. The task force, made up of the security agencies with the support of the Small Scale Miners Association, had gone to Subing to enforce a presidential ban on illegal mining, where the miners mining in the Ofin River invited deities on the task force. My colleague Oyeming Teria, who has been monitoring activities of the team, now joins me on phone with details. Hello, Oyeming. Now, describe to us how the task force went about enforcing this ban on illegal mining.
Thank you, Israel. It's been a very difficult day for the task force members who first point of call was Minawusu in the Upper Denja West District, where the illegal miners, popularly called as Chamfine operators, have pitched camp in the streams in the district. And after Ofin, I'm told there's another stream. That is where the Chamfine miners have been mining. So this morning, they had to employ the services of divers with the support of the Upper Denja East District, and then the Small Scale Miners Association, as well as the BNI, police, and other security agencies. So these divers, though immediately we get to the point, the miners, upon seeing the task force members flee from the site, the divers will then dive into the river, make sure these Chamfine machines are destroyed, and later set them ablaze. So I must say it's been a very difficult task. In some instances, there were instances where the divers had to employ their tactics, their skills, before they are able to bring out these Chamfine machines sitting on locally manufactured boats right in the middle of the stream. So it's been very, very difficult for the team, Israel.
All right, now, Oyeming, just to explain to our viewers exactly what these machines are, my understanding is that they sit on boats. Essentially, they're like boats themselves, and they sit on the water, and they're used to process the ore to get the gold.
Yes, Israel, they have the two engines, two powerful engines. Both, I'm told they are both here in Ghana, but the procedure is what they call Chamfine. And after you've acquired the two boats, you need wooden slabs and then empty barrels, big barrels that are closer at each end. And they use the slabs to cover the empty barrels on the sea, on the river. And beyond this, they also have big metal containers manufactured halfway. So they put the slabs on the empty barrels joined together to this metal container. And then the engines will sit on the two slabs at the same time. So these miners, what they do is to start the engine. Once it starts operating, one of the engines pick water from the river directly, which it also pumps into the machine, which they use to wash the gold up there. And then the another one also discharges the water, the dirty ones, right into the stream. And that is what has been polluting the stream all over. So this Chamfine, they also come with very loud noise. So normally, the local communities, they call them they name the machines after the sound that they produce. So that is how they do it, Israel.
And how did these curses and insults impact on the operations of the task force?
Nonetheless, the members of the task force were up to the task. They were up to the task to ensure that all these champagne machines were destroyed. At the end of the day, 14 of the champagne machines mounted on River Ofin and 2 other streams were destroyed. Not that the engines were destroyed completely, but the task force members ensured that they set all of them ablaze so that the owners will not come back and use them again. I must say 2 of the illegal miners, they are the people who pitch camp at the banks, whilst the team also work on the champagne machines on the river. They were the ones who invited river deities on the task force members. But when I spoke to the municipal coordinating director for Upper Danger West, Mr. Fred Kodo, he did indicate, yes, the people involved might have spent all their lifetime savings in acquiring the boats, but the task force members were there to ensure that the presidential ban on illegal miners come to stay and is adhered to by every miner in the district. So they were there not to show sympathy or whatsoever to whosoever was involved. Their duty today was to ensure that all these illegal mining activities will cease in the Upper Danger West. And beyond this, we also assure that they will continue to monitor the activities, and daily and weekly basis, they will make sure they follow up with these illegal miners until they are no more in the district, and they will ensure that beyond the weekly thing also, they've also put out the task force to be going around to monitor everywhere that these illegal miners, apart from those who operate in the rivers, will not also have the field day to operate.
All right, thank you very much, Ohiming Teria. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break at this point, but still to come in the bulletin. A member of Parliament's Finance Committee in the previous Parliament has admitted members of the committee received some payments from the National Lottery Authority, but denies it was meant to bribe them to pass the authority's bill.
I was at the Century program. I signed for a night allowance, but it's a long time ago. I can't even remember what specific amount.
All right, but he tells us exactly what those monies were supposed to be used for. And then we also have a very interesting story coming up about paternity tests. That's coming up later on in the bulletin. Right now, though, after the break, we bring you business news.
Hello, good evening to you. Great to come your way again with business. The economy grew by 2.2 percentage points more in the first 3 months of 2017 compared with the same period in 2016. This is after it recorded a growth rate of 6.6% in the first quarter of the year compared with the 4.4% growth in the same period last year. This is according to latest GDP figures announced by the Statistical Service. Speaking with Joy Business, Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu noted the development indicates an expansion of the economy.
According to the Ghana Statistical Services, the rate of growth recorded for the first quarter of the year can be attributed mostly to the expansion in the services sector between the periods. The economy grew by 2.2 percentage points more in the first 3 months of 2017 compared to the same period in 2016. This is after it recorded a growth rate of 6.5% in the first quarter of the year compared to the 4.4% in the same period last year. Deputy Statistician of the Ghana Statistical Services, Anthony Amuzu, explains.
GDP at current prices was estimated at 44,731.8 million Ghana cedis. And the corresponding value recorded for the first quarter of 2016 was 36,452.2 million Ghana cedis. In constant terms, the quarter 1 2017 GDP was estimated at 8,557.8 million Ghana cedis. And for the first quarter of 2016, this was estimated at 8,028.4 million Ghana cedis. Now, the year-on-year quarterly GDP growth rate for quarter 1 of 2017 was 6.6% compared to the 4.4% that was recorded for quarter 1 of 2016.
Meanwhile, the industrial sector recorded the highest growth rate of 11.5%, followed by agriculture 7.6% and services sector with 3.7% for the period under review.
Agriculture contributed 14.3%, industry 26.7%, and services 59.0%.
So why is it that services is leading again this time around?
The services sector is expanding. Even if you take the oil and gas sector, there are a lot of service providers.
In the agricultural sector, the fishing subsector led the growth rates with 8.4%, whilst mining and quarrying subsector grew by 7.6%, as highest growth within the industrial sector. However, in the services sector, information communication technology recorded the highest growth of 2.7%.
Meanwhile, economist Professor Peter Quartey is warning the current challenges with revenue mobilization could affect end-of-year growth targets. His comments follow latest GDP figures released, which show the economy expanded by 6.6% for the first quarter of the year. Professor Quartey tells Joy Business the current armyworm issue facing the agri sector could also make it difficult to achieve the over 6% growth target by December.
It is more of industry and agriculture. Agri employs close to 50 or more % of our labor force. So if expansion is coming from agri, then you expect to see more money in people's pocket. If industry, especially manufacturing, that employs significant proportion of the labor force is expanding, then you see people saying, yes, we are seeing the growth reflecting in our pocket. So for me, the shift is rather better than what we've been seeing in the past.
Do you want this trend to continue?
I would love to see more within industry, industry expanded faster than the other sectors. Agri can grow, but you would want to see more of processing of agricultural products, so that will add to industry. So industrial expansion, in my view, would do a lot of good to the Ghanaian economy.
Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has assured the proposed capital increase for commercial banks would not come with any special exemptions. The Bank of Ghana is expected to announce a new minimum capital requirement for commercial banks in the country. There are reports the central bank could propose 250 million Ghana cedis or even up to 500 million Ghana cedis. Speaking with Joy Business after the GCB Bank presented 21.5 million Ghana cedis dividends to government, the Finance Minister said it is critical this recapitalization takes place to strengthen the financial sector.
We also do have a particular interest in making sure the indigenous banks, become stronger because we believe that typically they support our SME sector much more so than others, and GCB has a capacity to do that, and so we certainly will look to support them.
When you talk about the capital review, and one of the critical challenges has always been with the local banks, it will be government policy, because often they come in last minute and some will say they spoil the party for the Bank of Ghana.
How do you mean by they spoil the party?
As in making a case for a lengthier time in meeting the capital requirements and all those things. And what will be government's clear policy on this one? That listen, the Bank of Ghana will set the deadline and everybody should comply.
I know. I mean, we can't grow weary. We got to keep trying. I mean, and I'm sure it might maybe result in some mergers, etc., which happened in Nigeria when the banks came from about 100 and something banks to as low as 20. So we'll see what happens soon. But I think we all appreciate that the banks need to get stronger.
The country's decision to extend the IMF program could result in government getting some extra cash. This is what Joy Business is learning from persons close to the extension negotiation talks. Sources say government is pushing for some extra funds to make up for the required fiscal consolidation under the extension. Joy Business is also learning the decision to extend the program would be communicated in a letter to the IMF board in the coming days ahead of its board meeting in Ghana. Meanwhile, economist Professor Peter Quartey has described government's decision to extend the program as prudent.
For me, I think it's a step in the right direction because if you recall, we went for elections and our fiscals hasn't been too good. The IMF brings on board some credibility. It helps us to clean our systems, ensure macro stability. It also brings confidence into the international investors or international community. So, in my view, an extension would be good so that it will help us clean the fiscal imbalance or correct the fiscal imbalance and ensure that the economy is on track.
But do you really believe that, I mean, some have said already that the benefits outweighs the challenges that comes with, some will say, more austerity, more pressure on us, serious fiscal consolidation and all those things, and some will say that they're going to live with this for extra 6 months.
Yeah, the IMF is a second best option. The first best option would have been for us to use our homegrown policies and strategies to ensure that we correct whatever imbalance we have. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do it on our own, and that is why the IMF is an option for us to consider.
That's all in business tonight. Many thanks for watching. You can also log on to myjoyonline.com/business for several other business stories. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. There's more ahead. Don't go away yet. Good evening.
Well, welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, Parliament has found itself embroiled in another bribery controversy, this time over monies paid out by the National Lottery Authority. The NLA, according to emails intercepted by Joy FM, requested the approval of a total of 150,000 cedis to be paid to members of the Finance Committee of the previous Parliament to supposedly push a bill through for the authority through the legislature. Now, legal advisor to the NLA, David Lamptey, in an interview with Joy FM Super Morning Show host Kojo Yangsing, denied claims the money was meant as a bribe for the MPs. According to Mr. Lamptey, the money paid out in August last year was spent on accommodation and other resources when the NLA organized a workshop on amendments to the new lottery bill at the Royal Century Hotel before it was passed into law. Now, Member of Parliament's Finance Committee, Benjamin Podo, has justified the 100,000 cedi payout he and his fellow committee members received from the National Lottery Authority. He says, contrary to suggestions that the money was meant as a bribe, they understood it to be an expenditure item. Mr. Podo also argues the fact that the bill was not passed affirms his argument that the amount wasn't a bribe. Let's listen to him.
Expenditure was made on the program to review the bill, the NLA bill in Senchi. Fine. Let's capture it as expenditure, because no MPs didn't sit anywhere to share 150,000. I'm not aware of that.
So how much was
it? I was at the Senchi program. I signed for a night allowance, but it's a long time ago. I can't even remember what specific amount was. But it couldn't be more than the normal night allowance that will be paid any public servant who is taken out of his family. And this happens across the public sector.
Mainly the argument has been that you are paid as MPs to pass bills, and so why should anyone else pay anything if you win night allowance in order for you to get jobs like this done?
That is a non-issue. The point is that all public servants, directors, assistant directors, chief directors, when they go out of their homes to an outside location to do specific projects, to either consider their strategic plan, to either finalize their budget, they are paid night and out of station stipends, in addition to their salaries and allowances on their payroll. This is practice, is standard practice across the public sector. So I am surprised that you will say that if such expenditure was incurred, then it is bribe. It cannot be bribe. Look at
but was it meant to influence you to pass the bill?
That is what I'm saying.
Was it meant to
No.
influence you?
So I throw back the question to you. Was the bill passed? The bill was not passed. If it was meant, then we could have done something untoward. That is hastening the bill up, and nothing of the kind. In fact, the bill didn't even come to plenary for discussion. So it was an expenditure. It was not intended to bribe anybody, and nobody took any such allowances as bribe to influence people to do what they should not do.
All right, so we have the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, and he's joining us via live link to tell us what he makes of this justification by the member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Thank you very much for making time, Dr. Rahman. Now, what do you make of the justification of the member of the Finance Committee of Parliament? Essentially, he says that whatever money was given to them was a normal stipend that will be paid anybody who's taking out of their station. And then he also goes on to say that they didn't pass the bill, which meant that really it wasn't meant as a bribe.
Yeah, Israel, good evening. Well, I think however you look at it, Parliament and members of Parliament are not anybody. So I don't think that we can compare our members of Parliament to civil servants who travel out of their station, and as part of their conditions of service, they have some resources that are given to them. I mean, we are talking here about a group of people who are supposed to look at a document that has an impact on the lives of almost all of us in this country. So they can't be anybody. And where you have resources changing hands, where you have members of Parliament being given some resources in order for them to do their work, and those resources are not coming from the institution, then we have a problem. You see, there's a lot of history to this. In the 6th Parliament, when Right Honorable Ajaho was Speaker, at one of our programs, that was one of the first things that he said in the early days of his leadership of our Parliament, that the practice where institutions of state that Parliament and its committees are supposed to oversee are the same institutions that are providing resources, whether paying for hotel bills, whether paying for per diems, or paying whatever money to members of Parliament. Is a practice that is not good for the institution, that's not good for its integrity, and that also does not ensure that our members of Parliament do a thorough job, particularly when it comes to oversight and the process of scrutinizing bills that are before them. He promised that he was going to stop that practice. And how do you stop that practice? You can only stop it if Parliament has its own resources in order for it to fund any and every activity that the institution and its committees are supposed to undertake.
Now, Dr. Rahman,
we don't have that.
Yeah, Dr. Rahman, now, yes. In this particular incident we were looking at, I find it particularly worrying. I don't know about you, but it appears to me that this is regular practice in the House, especially it's coming on the back of the bribery allegations made by the Member of Parliament, Honorable Ayariga.
Yes. Yes, in fact, that's I'm more worried, Israel, than you, because you see, we have spent so many years. I've been involved in parliamentary strengthening, particularly with this our parliament, for almost the past 15 years. And I mean, these are not the kinds of things that we want to see our interventions producing. You know, when the Ayariga scandal came up, it was not the first time. There were precedents. I mean, there were other instances that people cited during that time. And some of the things that some of us said was that, look, these things happen in human institutions. We saw a similar thing happen in the UK when members of Parliament were involved in some scandal about housing and so on. We saw a similar thing happen in the Parliament of Canada. But you see, the difference between those parliaments and our parliament is that the leaders said, look, this is true, this is what happened, this is embarrassing, and we are going to stop it once and for all. And they took measures, they implemented policies and so on to ensure that it never happens again. If you look at the history of our parliament, since January to this day, I think we have counted about 3, 4, 5 scandals already. And I'm looking forward to seeing what is it that the leadership of Parliament would put in place so that all of us would have trust once again in our legislative institution. Otherwise, as things stand right now, I think the integrity of Parliament would always be in question.
All right, now, in the previous incident that we talked about involving the Mohamed Yarega, there are those who say that Parliament found a way of sweeping this whole thing under the carpet. What do you anticipate is going to happen in this particular instance?
You see, I mean, Israel, again, in the last scandal, if you go through your records, I think we said that, just similar, making reference to other parliaments, that in order to deal with this decisively and make sure that at the end of the day, whatever outcome that we have is one that will be trusted by the entire citizenry, you need to get an independent body that will look into the matter so that at the end of the day, if Parliament is absolved, if Parliament is exonerated, then I think we can all say this is a very thorough job that was done by an independent outside institution. But the Right Honourable Speaker did not go that way. He set up an internal committee to look at matters that are internal to Parliament. And I don't think we got an outcome that could stand the test of time, an outcome that, that would ensure that such a thing never happens again.
Dr. Draman,
do you think that we heard about
yes, do you think that in this instance the Speaker or Parliament is going to listen to your advice?
Well, honestly, you know, Israel, I will hope that Right Honourable Speaker will listen to our advice. Because you see, before the Speaker became Speaker, I think I was on a program with him on one of the TV stations. And they asked me about, you know, what should we look for in the next Speaker of Parliament? And I said one of the criterion that I will propose is somebody who has an eye on legacy, somebody who would come and reform the institution and deepen some of the reforms that were started. I believe our Speaker currently, he's somebody who is an accomplished person. He has seen it all. I don't think he wants anything more than legacy. And the one important legacy that he can leave behind is to ensure that our Parliament is thoroughly clean up so that once again we would have its integrity perfectly restored and intact.
All right.
I hope he listens.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Draman. He's with the Parliamentary Center here in Accra. Now, researchers at the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research have developed 5 varieties of an indigenous potato known as frafra potato. The institute, based in the Upper East region, is looking into the best way to cultivate the crop on a large scale. Regional correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The frafra potato is an indigenous kind of potato cultivated in northern Ghana, especially in the Upper East and West regions. Popularly known as pesa in the local parlance within the Upper East, this potato is a food crop commonly consumed in many households during the lean seasons when other food crops have been exhausted. The frafra potato grows as a small herbaceous annual crop with prostate stem and branches. It has a high market value, but is produced by local farmers in small quantities due to lack of approved technology to improve its production on a large scale. It is against this backdrop that the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is looking at more improved ways of cultivating the variety.
Farmers have seen the potential, how this can change their lives, because we got them involved in participatory development and technology development. And they've seen how useful it is and how they can use that technology to improve fried potato production on a very produce it on a very large scale to make a lot of income for themselves. But they not just end it there. We also took them through how they can also improve the storage by taking them to a lot of storage technologies, which they can use to also store this in the tubers, not just for planting, but also to keep it longer for use in the house and also to sell to the general public.
Chairman of the National Variety Release and Registration Committee, Seth Osei Akoto, who is leading a team of researchers to do research on the frafra potato and give recommendations to the Seed Council, is impressed with the work done so far.
Frafra potato is considered a food security crop, and we are looking ways of improving the productivity and the production of frafra potato. We have assessed the work so far done, and we are very, very impressed about the outputs that we have all come to witness today. The other things that they need to put in, which we have highlighted, major one is to look at the other nutritional content, looking at the ways that they can improve upon the methodology and other things. Besides these things, I think we are satisfied with the output so far.
Upper East Regional Director of Agriculture, Reverend John Menu, is calling on government to adopt the cultivation of frafra potato as part of the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative.
Now, Joy FM's Beauty and Bridal Fair opens at the Crown International Conference Center tomorrow, Thursday. Now, it will feature everything bridal. If you're looking for jewelry, accessories, makeup, anything at all, it's going to be available. This fair has been going on for several years, and the organizers know exactly what they have to do and what they have to put up. And it's a highly anticipated fair. Now, one of the highly anticipated events at the fair happens to be the marriage seminar. So, well, this evening we've brought into the studio a marriage counselor who is going to be shedding some light on some of the issues that are likely to come up. Now, one of the topical issues that's come up in the last few days, and which is likely to be big at the marriage seminar, has to do with paternity tests. It's turning out that a number of parents or number of fathers are actually seeking to want to, conduct paternity tests on their children to be sure that the children are indeed their children. It's coming at a time when we're getting reports, or in fact there's a story of a known footballer here in Ghana, Odate Lamte, who actually it turned out that all his 3 kids happened not to have been his biological offspring. So people are getting worried, and he's actually advising that people conduct paternity tests on their children. We set out to find out from people if indeed they would want to conduct paternity tests on their children. We asked some parents. Let's listen in a bit.
That one is very important. It's very important.
Oh, I'll feel bad. Will you still do it? No.
All right, so I have in the studio with me a marriage counselor, and she has an interesting name. Her first name is Catherine. The second part is a bit of a challenge. So you help me out.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, mercy, Lord. They just murdered my name, and where's my husband, please?
Okay.
Israel.
Yes.
I can sue you.
Please don't.
I shouldn't?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk after.
All right, so let's carry on with it. Now, this issue about the paternity, first of all, the marriage seminar is a major thing, and people flock to the bridal fair just to listen to the counsel that you're going to offer them. And so this is one of the issues that's likely to be coming up, and people are going to be asking the question, what would you advise? Because now we're being told that it probably will be prudent to conduct a paternity test, DNA, to ascertain and verify that indeed the children that you're fathering are actually your biological. Is this something you would advise?
The world has degenerated. If we want to conduct that test as much as I will subscribe to it 101%. But sincerely speaking, Israel, if we want to carry it out, there will be a lot of shocks and people will die. Some people will die.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Multiple reasons. Marriages are failing. Marriages are degenerating. And those who don't really have solid foundation in Christ, when they are deprived of love, when they are deprived of affection, talking about the ladies now, when they are deprived of attention, some of them look for it outside. Because we've come to a place where the system is almost shutting down on proper counseling. And so we are made to believe, so many people are made to believe that you can just carry on like that without making any fuss. And women, some women, not all, I wouldn't generalize, have come to a place where, for lack of knowledge, they have extended their tentacles to other men who kind of rub them on the side they want to be rubbed. And so it's sad, but it's happening.
Okay, so I get the impression from what you're saying that this is a pretty widespread issue.
Yes, it is widespread, not only in Ghana.
So the women who would engage in adultery in this case and end up with children that are of other men, not their husbands.
That's right.
Are they not worried that it will eventually come out? For instance, I mean, clearly you end up giving birth to a child who may be looking very different from the father or the supposed father.
That's it. You see, for so long, I am not holding brief for people doing the wrong thing. I think for anybody who has ever listened to me on Get to Know Me personally, they know my stand on situations that Christ still remains the answer. And you don't become a sinner. You don't commit sin because of another person's sin. Okay, so you don't allow anybody's sin to make you a sinner. But the truth be told, for so long, African women have been suppressed. And I think that there is a move, there is a rising that is very, very, for better words, it's sad, it's alarming. I don't know the right adjective to use, but I think we are beginning to face a situation where women are beginning to prove a point, even though they are not loud. That if you're playing hide and seek, they are equally playing hide and seek. And some of them, by reason of the kind of thing I do, I counsel a lot. Okay, you realize that there are so many women who are married and hurting in marriages, and the husbands are not willing to get help. Because Africa believes that as a man, you are entitled to whatever your position is, and nobody can infringe on your right or your position or authority. And so they can't kind of have the access to the right kind of information. And because they are looking for attention, so many women are doing some very weird things. I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but the earlier the system, the government, the authorities, from the family to all the levels of authority that we have set up as structures in the system, wake up to realizing that there is a real problem. The family is almost at the verge of being extinct because there is a lot of mix-up right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mix-up. So many women are sleeping outside.
And you feel that if a DNA, the parents or the fathers decide to conduct the DNA test, they're going to open a can of worms. That's your feeling.
Let's try and see. Let's not work on my assumptions or my. But
So-
I can
so for
I
you-
can bet you. I can bet you there will be a lot of shocks, a lot of surprises. There will be a lot, because you see, the voices that are speaking the truth are very few. The only thing that can stop me from being stupid, if I'm deprived of love, is the voice of wisdom that comes from God. And where that voice has been suppressed, because even the ones who should speak up aren't really talking, because some probably are even caught up in the web. So everybody is doing what they choose to do. And we are raising a generation where, to be sincere with you, what we called abomination is beginning to happen in homes. And so some men are fathering children. They don't have any idea who their biological fathers are.
But in this instance, then some blame would also go to the men who are failing to live up to their responsibilities.
Not some blame, a greater portion of the blame. You know why I say that? Because for those of us who are of the Christian faith, a man is work-oriented. You are created to receive, what do I say? You are created for work. Achievement is what drives you. If you don't have a job, if you don't have money, you feel less than a man. You are created to be job-oriented. A woman is relationship created. No matter how far a woman goes, what makes meaning to a woman is a relationship. And where a man marries a woman and believes that he can useless her, it is actually at his expense, because not all of them can handle the stress. So men have got to wake up. They have got to wake up. I don't know whether I should climb a mountain and shout. Men have got to wake up, because very soon, based on the fact that you can never really tell where the children are coming from, we may have some rebellious children come up under your wings, because there are some women who sleep with drivers. There are some women who sleep with touts. The important thing is just feeling loved. And a woman who doesn't have Christ, wherever love is coming from, some of them, they don't care. And then they bring these children in here. They don't look like you. They don't act like you. They don't carry your DNA. They don't carry your gene. They don't carry anything about yours. And you kind of wonder, how come this child is acting strange? It's because you had not given attention to what should be given attention to. And the earlier we do it, Israel, the better.
How true is it that this problem about the paternity of the children being doubtful is prevalent with firstborns?
I don't know the server you're working with.
Okay, so it's because someone pointed out to me that a lot of marriages actually are started because somebody got pregnant. The woman got pregnant and said, this man is responsible. That's true. When really, it may turn out that this wasn't the man who was responsible, but the woman feels that this is the man I would want to take care of my children.
That's it.
And so they gave...
Because probably of economic status, because of financial prowess of the person, and because of probably even character. And they feel that I would rather give this pregnancy to this. But it doesn't only pertain to first pregnancies. Yeah. I think it goes beyond just the first pregnancy to coming into the early years of marriage where the boat is rocky. And so apart from just imposing a pregnancy on an innocent person, will I say innocent? I withdraw my words. Okay, because the only reason that pregnancy is imposed on the person is because
he partook.
he did he did what he was not supposed to do. Okay, don't stone me, I'll say the truth. It doesn't matter anyway. So you are only bearing the consequences of, you are not tightening your belt and putting on your boxers. And so now at the end of the day, you come in there and there are a lot of issues, because most of the premarital relationship focus on nothing. It's just, I love you, touch me, neck me, all this. But marriage is based on issues and values. And so for those who believe the Bible says two cannot work together except they be agreed. So how much time did we spend talking about money and how we'll use it? Talking about sex, talking about in-laws, talking about social media, talking about friends, talking about ambition, talking about career, talking about all these things. We never discussed them because we felt we were so much in love, only to enter into marriage and discover that the dynamics change and the reality now speaks out. And the people get shocked. And so the early years, apart from the one that was imposed on you as the first pregnancy, the next two may also not belong to you because there's an ex that seems...
Okay, now that is the reason why you have to be at the marriage seminar. That's this weekend at the Joy FM Beauty and Bridal Fair, because the issues that Doc is raising, the issues that she should have discussed before going into the marriage, are the issues that are going to be coming up at the marriage seminar, so that you get some knowledge and some insights before you go into the marriage, so that you don't end up, giving each other trouble or wahala.
It's a score penalty shootout. Penalties, football.
Really?
Yes.
So Doc is going to be at the marriage seminar this weekend. Do make a date. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Suzalai. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.